It's not Thursday. It's not Thursday.
We're live, everybody. We're live. So welcome. I'm just going to mute all the microphones if I may, do the technical stuff. There we go. So we are all muted. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you. People are dialing in as we speak, going to the top of the hour. 23rd of March session, spring session of the JLSM general talk for this week. I can see already Bill's just dialed in. We've been talking to Gail. Nicola's now dialed in. Julia was there, Edward, Linda, Mark, and Ivier, and the two Evelyns we were having a good chat to already. Sandra's there as well, and Cyril, of course. So good to see you all. Today, a bit of housekeeping. We've got two sessions later, one of which is Ivier, who's on now. Ivier is 5 p.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. I think UK because of the time change. So check your calendars. Wayne is speaking tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time, which I believe at the moment with the time change is 1 a.m. UK. So the timetable this week is an odd one until the British clocks go forward. So watch out for the clock change, everybody. Check your calendar and check the links. Anyway, having got all the housekeeping out of the way, I wanted to talk today, it being spring and all that, about growth. And that's a topic that's come up a great deal for me recently when I've been talking to people and listening to what they are saying. A lot of these conversations have suddenly centered around growth. And it struck me that it's what most people are actually looking for, either soon after they set up or soon after they get their feet on the ground, if it's a personal development goal they're looking to pursue. I mean, business terms, obviously growth has enormous business value in any sale. So it's a very, very key topic for entrepreneurs as well. And I know some of us are already beginning to focus on growth, having got the first frameworks built and the first products out there. Naturally, people to start thinking about growth. Spring is growth. I mean, after all, growth is spring, and it's the time of the year we should be talking about this. So it's a great topic for now. The spring equinox, as we know, occurred on the 20th of March. Which means the sun crossed the equator on its way north into the northern hemisphere. So not so good for those in the south, but in the northern hemisphere, this means spring and growth to us. And we do very closely associate these months with growth, with new buds, with new beginnings, with releases of energy, with rejuvenation, number of terms I could apply. So it really is official. The growth season is here and we can grab it and we can embrace it. Robin Williams said about this season of growth, spring is nature's way of saying, let's party. So I agree with that. Let's get that party attitude and say, hey, this is a time of renewal and let's go for it and try and grow our personal development goals and grow our businesses. So if we can just bottle and capture that feeling of renewal and growth, we can all move forward to the next stage of whatever it is we're pursuing, whether it's personal or business related. This is the time to do it, to rethink. And this spring, of course, is really particularly special, given what we've all suffered. The whole world has suffered since the last spring literally broke upon our heads in a very, very unexpected way and took us off to a place we never expected to be, in the state we never expected to see the world in. We entered really, for many people, unfortunately, an economic winter, although many of us shrugged that off and said, hey, let's not waste this time. Get new skills and launch new things. But for many, of course, they're suffering an economic winter and haven't been so fortunate. But there is now an increasing sense of optimism returning in many spheres as people see what is perhaps possible now. It's one of the most marked spring transitions we may ever see in our entire lives, given the literal ending of one phase and the moving to another now, battling with vaccines and viruses. It's an arms race. So, let's feel this incredible transition this year and let's act on it. We really can if we choose to. And if we're looking for business growth, by the way, it's now in this stage of the year, still the early stages of the year, where we can do it and build for the end of the year. It's a great time to push. And also predictions from economists who, of course, never agree on these things, but they're all saying that there should be a spending and growth surge if we're looking from a purely business point of view, as pent-up spending and demand is released like water from a dam. It's been bottled up and it hasn't had anywhere to go in some cases. And in certain areas, they do predict that suspended demand could return with really explosive force as people start to go out, return to their old patterns, have face-to-face meetings and dinners where they want to look good, in some countries, they literally say there's a wall of consumer money that's believed to have built up. So let's launch forward into it and be ready for it. While at the same time, of course, we do have to spare a thought for those that have been less fortunate in this crisis. And we've got to help them to relaunch as well as best we can. That's what I'm certainly trying to do myself. We mustn't forget them while we're growing. Let's help others to grow with us. A growth, for me, takes many forms. As I've said, it could be personal, which could involve new skills, new mindsets. It could be business, literally new products and new platforms and new avenues. And John talked a lot about growth yesterday. It was a great talk. He talked about increasing demand by asking, by putting yourself out there. And he talked about the resulting expansion and the resulting impact on the world that you have to have and can have. You need to be out there. You need to get out there, he told us very clearly. So let's not forget that. Reach into the market, said John, and impinge on it. Very, very important in terms of linking that to growth. That is where growth comes from. Glenn came in on the back of that call and said yesterday how important it was to network grow at the same time. So growth in networks, equally important. Starting and maintaining conversations, he mentioned. He talked about bridging gaps, about making connections between you and me and you. And those words stuck with me as well. All of that links straight into us being ready to grow and being positioned well to grow this year and next year and beyond. So what do we do? What about preparing for growth? What should we think about? Well, for me, and I thought about this a lot for this week, success is a dialogue with ourselves. Success is a dialogue with ourselves. That's what I crystallized my thoughts down into. That's the one sentence I would draw out of this talk. We decide on our targets and on how we respond to external forces and whether to set and whether to seek an objective or not to set it. That is us. And the same applies to seeking growth. We decide, we plan it, and we execute it. We are that motive force and we are the growth engine. And that's exactly how Steve Jobs built Apple and Jeff Bezos built Amazon. Personal drive to build growth. They had very specific targets in mind and they pushed relentlessly through to achieve them and to grow their businesses to what are now mammoth enterprises. But they built these things on a foundation of core ideas and principles, including customer service, care for our fellow beings, whatever it might be. You have to do this. It comes from you. You are the leader. Once again, it's down to us. We are the leaders of our own growth and our own destiny. Nobody else is. So we sit, for me, by the side of an endless river of fish. And we decide whether and how to fish and how often to fish. And we decide which fish to go for and which not to bother to catch or to throw back. We acquire that fishing knowledge and we learn how to apply the right tools or the right fishing tackle. We build the patience to sit by the side of that river for countless fishing hours, fishing for growth. That's what we're doing right now. That's what I'm hearing from you every single day. And that growth could be personal growth, it could be business growth, it could be knowledge and skills growth, whatever kind of growth you're looking for right now, we're looking to sit by that river and fish for it every day. And it requires patience and commitment. So whatever the case, we have to connect personally. It comes from us. And that's what John and Glenn often say, collectively known as John Glenn. They often say that to us. They often tell us this. We have to connect directly with that river, first in our minds, then with our eyes, and then with our actual fish hook. There has to be a physical delivery at the end where we put the fish hook in the river. Whether we're seeking new skills, new philosophies, new products, new customers, this is equally true for me. This is what we're doing. This is the process we're involved in. So it really is down to us as spring growth starts now. Are we ready for it? Are we focused? Are we committed? It's down to us to be disciplined and patient fishers. Let's ask ourselves perhaps today, are we truly invested in that process or are we just paying lip service to it? Are we truly connecting with that river? Are we caring about our customers? Are we caring about the product? Are we engaging in the process? These are all the questions I'm asking myself. So what do we have to consider doing? Well, the first general rule of growth is to invest time and money in development. And that's equally true for personal development and business life. We have to dedicate and prioritize our time and some of our resources and direct them to our end, to our chosen prioritized aim, whether that be growing and learning or some business project. Personal and business growth both cost time. They both cost a lot of time. We've got to spend that time. We've got to persevere and keep spending it. Sometimes they also cost real money. So we have to put in our budget money aside. It's no good getting all these great objectives and then not allowing ourselves the room to pursue them. So plan that. We have to plan that. And also, we can't just do this once. We can't build and invest once for all time. It doesn't work like that. Learning and personal development are daily and perhaps even hourly investments in some cases. And then there are also bigger cycles. Those bigger cycles begin and end as well. So what is good this season or this year as an initiative could just peter out and finish off and end by the next season or the next year. So it's constant, it's consistent, and we have to be constant and consistent in building, investing ahead, looking ahead, and carrying on. And in his beautiful book, As a Man Thinketh, James Allen compares those cycles, those business cycles, those personal cycles to what we see in nature, in the garden, for example. Beautifully written book. And I wanted to mention two other wonderful quotes, beautiful quotes, one of which is from B.C. Forbes. He said, "It is only the farmer who faithfully plants seeds in the spring who reaps a harvest in the autumn," which really does sum it up. What we're doing now is your next season's set of new products, your next year's set of new products, ideas and services. That's what we're doing right now. We have to put some time aside for that. Sitting Bull said, "Behold, my friends, the spring is come. The earth has gladly received the embraces of the sun, and we shall soon see the results of their love." So what we do right now will definitely emerge in a guaranteed way in what we get back at the end of the year and the beginning of next year. We can't get away from that truth. It's fundamental. So keep planning and preparing our next set of initiatives now, and they will serve us well in 6 months' time, say. So what can we specifically consider doing? Well, in terms of business growth, if I'm talking about business for a minute, we need to be courageous and take risk. There's always risk in order to grow the next stage to the next stage of our business. We have to consider the right moment for each stage of growth and be careful to make that judgment properly. It goes without saying that overly rapid growth can crash a business. So let's just not pile in on a reckless basis and launch too many ideas and products at once. That could actually finish your business off. Consolidate and stabilize, keep planning, keep investing and thinking about new ideas, but make sure you've stabilized the old ones and consolidated them first. And also in this process, don't lose sight of the costs and when they're going to fall and how you're going to manage them, because growth obviously engenders costs and we have to be ready to manage that. So when we're ready, we're going to have to inject or raise more business cash. And that's one of the topics we're going to cover in the Life and Business Tools sessions, finance and the implications of various types of finance and the ups and downsides of them. So if we're going through this process right now, if any of you are, check the immediate and long-term cost of business finance. You have to be aware of the true total impact on you, your finances and your business. And then again, consider how much of your business you're giving away. What are you getting back for it if you are giving any away? And remember, in business as well, just as in our personal lives, growth and development come from the owner of the body or the owner of the business is in charge. This comes from us. So we can't wait for other people to miraculously deliver our growth. We have to go and seek it out. We've got to convey our energy and enthusiasm in seeking it out and passing that on to the people we want to help us to achieve that growth. And if we just lack enthusiasm and passion, it isn't going to happen. We need to check our own demeanor when dealing with people we're trying to influence to help us to grow. We need to be careful to note what we're projecting. Who is turning up, as John would say? What are we putting out there? How are we being perceived? It's a transmission of energy. And if we're going around feeling like a storm cloud or a damp firework about the prospects, that is definitely going to come across and communicate itself to the person you're trying to get to help you grow. And that's not a great message. And remembering also in business growth, we don't need grandiose or complex schemes most of the time. Simple things work. Just selling more into the market works. It's guaranteed to work. As John put it yesterday, just impinge more on the market. That will deliver results to you. Keep it simple. Just increase the impact of what you're already doing and the scope of it, and you'll get some growth. We can just start simple growth by understanding our customers more, perhaps, or working out how better to reach the customers and keep them happy, working out how to get better at knowing what they need, what they identify with, and who we're selling to. These are all important growth, easy wins, low-hanging fruit, as we call it, that's there for the taking. So moving back onto the personal side, we're all working very hard in this group already on personal growth, and that's why we're here every day. I mean, certainly learning and exposing ourselves to new thinking is an incredibly powerful growth tool in itself. And we just heard how powerful it is from Evelyn Smith yesterday in her contribution to the session. She spoke, and you could hear it in her voice. She spoke with passion and conviction about her experience of absorbing new ideas over recent months listening to this group. And I'm sure Evelyn won't mind me saying that she hasn't always sounded like that, but she's grabbed the bull by the horns and deliberately exposed herself to these new ideas, to this new way of thinking, and it's worked for her. And she may come on in a minute and tell us more about why it worked, but it's all about changing your thinking. And in her case, she was brave enough to expose herself to that, and it's worked. So Evelyn's now developed a can-do attitude as a result of all that work she put in and the commitment she made to being in the group. Can do. How can I do it? When can I do it? Those are the things we say if we want growth, not negative things. If we really want growth, those are the kind of words we should be using. I'm going to do it now. I'm doing it. When am I going to do it? And how am I going to do it? Should immediately follow. And growth is key. It's a key personal skill. It translates directly to personal business growth and success. It is the virtuous circle I spoke about a few months ago. I mean, the more we believe and say we're doing it, rather than I can't do it, then the more we do, and then the more happens. It feeds back, because the more we do, the more we feel we can do, and the more we try. So if we can change this initial mindset, this virtuous circle triggers off, and the more execution we do, the more we're going to try. I can guarantee that from my own experience. I know that's the case. It gives us the confidence to try again. If I can do this on this, I can do something slightly bigger. So if you're not doing enough of those things I've mentioned yet, in terms of a can-do attitude, that's something we have to work on, all of us, and keep reminding ourselves on. John spoke in the book club last night, which, by the way, was a fantastic session on Wallace D. Waddell's book, which carries on for the rest of the week and into next week. Do listen to the recording or join live if you can. Key concepts in that book. Waddell speaks of the certain way, of proceeding without doubt, of proceeding with certainty. Focus on that, believe me, because that is probably the biggest secret of this whole process. Be certain, be definite. I was always very definite if I was doing something that I was committed to. I was definite, I was on purpose, and I was convinced. And because I was convinced, I was convincing. And there's no doubt about that. You can read back from someone if you're convincing them. You can see the impact you're having. If I'm convinced, I can convince somebody else, and I'm going to get my growth. High conviction and definiteness transmits to other people. It's an infectious quality. It engenders action. So if you want to grow, be definite, be determined, be passionate, and be convinced about what you're doing. If you're not convinced, maybe it's the wrong thing, or you're pursuing the wrong product or the wrong angle. You're just not aligned with it. This is what vast tracts of these self-help books mean when they talk about the power of thought. If we're definite and behave and think definitely, then we're effective, we're convincing, and we cause things to happen. There's no magic. It's very, very simple. You can reject all of the science that we've debated in this group behind all of this, atomic science, subatomic science, physics, etc. If you reject all of that, don't worry. That doesn't affect the fact that this is true. It's about communicating your energy, which transmits to other people and causes results, which triggers growth. They receive from you your enthusiasm and your conviction, as long as it's positive and not malign, if you're doing it for the right reasons. This is about crossing that bridge that Glenn referred to yesterday, of taking your passion and your ideas across the bridge, across the divide, to meet somebody on the other side, impinging on the thinking, as John put it, of other people with the power of your thoughts is what it's all about. This is absolutely key. which is why I wanted to talk about it today. And it's equally true for a business idea or a product as it is for a personal project, a charitable endeavor, or whatever it is you fixed on pursuing right now. We have to convey things to other people. We have to sell ideas or real products to other people. We have to cross that bridge. We've got to be definite and convincing in doing so. So not only definite thought is required, but different thought. Let's look again at everything we think and we currently do. Why are we thinking like that, and why are we doing it that way? Does it make sense? Why? I'm always asking myself why and trying to find another angle to look from, because it's quite amazing to me how many people just take the accepted position they've been given and hold it for years without challenging it. So let's always be ready to look again and say, wait a minute, growth comes from innovation and change in life and in business. If we can rethink and we can innovate and we can change ideas and products and services and approaches, we're on a winner. We are on a winner. Just keep trying things, keep rethinking. Why is everyone doing it that way when I've got this idea about doing it this way? Try and take the risk out of it, sure. Try it small, do market testing, but try new things. Don't just follow the herd. The herd ends up taking you to the same place we've always been. Find ways to do better, to get that growth, to exceed expectations of the customers, and you're going to get growth. You are going to get growth. So there's so many ideas I could run through on this front today, but I can't run through them all. So I really wanted to focus on those things. And in summary, connect. You can't act on something and you can't produce results and growth in a vacuum. It can't be done. You're not in a vacuum. Be definite about what you're doing. Let's be determined and convinced so that we're convincing about what we're doing. And then let's communicate our ideas, our products and services in a very definite way. Let's be certain in our actions. Let's expose ourselves, though, at the same time to new ideas and new thinking constantly. Ideas are potential growth and power if we choose to act on them and think about them. And I mentioned business growth. Just keep it simple. It doesn't always mean grandiose schemes and heroic actions, as John would put them. It's sometimes the small daily things, just selling more and selling it better, that works for a long time. So let's also be ready to think differently as well as definitely think innovation and think change. So I'm going to open the floor and really very glad everyone's joined us today. I'm just so much looking forward to hearing your ideas on this, and hope someone will be brave enough to put their hand up and dive in and comment on their feelings about growth, the spring, and those ideas I've just mentioned. So who would like to dive in and take the floor? I'd love to hear from you.
Me.
Go, John, go.
Office, I'm not in my natural habitat. You know what? All right, we're just going to deal with it. We're just going to deal with it, folks. This is what I look like when I get out of the gym.
Excellent.
Adrian, thank you, man. All right, so I'm just going to sit here. Can you guys hear me okay? It's a little bit echoey down here. I'm downstairs in my house.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay, great. So so here's what's coming up for me. Thank you, first of all. Where's the camera lens? Right there. See that? I need to know where the camera lens is. Yeah, there you are, right there.
I see you.
Okay. Yeah. And there's little Butch. She wants to say hi to. Hey, Butchie.
Hey, Butch.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. First of all, thank you, Adrian, for telling me that this will bear fruit. Right? Did I need you to tell me that? Did I need you to tell me that my application of law will work? Yeah, I needed that. You know why? Oh, here comes the rest of my family down the stairs. It is mayhem in the Lavenia house today. We're about to have our tutor show up in 7 minutes as well for my daughter. But I need. Let me rephrase that. Let me start over that sentence over again. I enjoy reminders and validation and the recognition, not just from myself, okay, like me affirming and telling myself I can, but also the acknowledgement of others. We could now the family's down here. I'm going to run upstairs. The agreement that I can. So I think I can, and I do think I can. Well, maybe we're onto something here. You know what? I might buy that deal. I might actually believe that I can. I mean, it's one thing to force an affirmation down my throat, right? But it's another thing to have that be an easy, flowing, natural thought. And so I'm looking at right now what we were talking about last night with the application of law, right? And we mentioned a few laws during our discussion last night. The law of laws, cause and effect, right? We mentioned the law of perpetual transmutation of radiant energy. We mentioned the law of gender. I don't know if we talked about the law of polarity and some of these other things, but what you're talking about today, you're doing a conversation on the season of spring, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. See, I was listening to you the whole time I was driving home from the gym. Usually I ride my bicycle. I just felt like relaxing a little bit today. Anyway, not that I relaxed in the gym, but as you were talking about this, I'm thinking, you know what? Everywhere I look, there gets to be a point, everyone, listen to this. There gets to be a point where everywhere you look, you see the law in action. Everywhere you look, like, we're no longer looking to affirm, oh, I hope this works, I believe this, oh, I'm gonna really, try hard to think right or something. You get to the point where everywhere you look, it's the law. Remember the Matrix? So here's Neo, the chosen one, right? And he has the ability to, with his mind, reform the Matrix, the program that's running the so-called reality that everyone's in, right? And then at the end of the movie, he sees the ones and the zeros. He sees the code, the computer code. He doesn't see chair, table, wall, person, right? He sees information, data, right? He sees the cause behind it. He becomes one with the cause of it. And so I know this is a Hollywood, bit. There's a really good bit too. I named my daughter after one of the characters in the movie, but but the idea that we actually start to see everywhere we look irrefutable evidence. Look, there's the law, there's the law, there's the law. We're talking about the law of gender, for example. So there's a season for sowing, there's a season for reaping. Period, right? I mean, it's not open for debate. I suppose you could debate it. You're going to lose. You'll lose that argument, right? Try and argue with nature, right? Good luck. So we can't break the law. We can just work with it. And I'm seeing now, and you know what, Adrian, this is a breakthrough right here in this session. This isn't like something that I scripted out or something. This breakthrough was right here in the session. As you were talking, I was thinking, you know what? I just saw that work again. Let me give you an example. As you were talking, and you're talking about we have to put ourselves out there. That's not a new concept, right? You didn't just originate that new truth or something. We talked about that yesterday. So thank you for the reminder. But then I was thinking of where is that true that we have to continue putting ourselves out there? You said we have to continue. You said spend. I'm going to tweak that one word to invest. The time, right? The attention, the money in some cases. And so as soon as you were talking about that, I was thinking, yeah, there's a season for sowing. There's a season for reaping. Sow the seeds. Sow the damn seeds. It's right out of the Bible, right? The sower, right? He sowed the seeds, and then some were choked out, and some got eaten by the birds, and then some, huge bounty, huge, right? So what is the not so smart farmer do? He looks for evidence. He doesn't see it. He stops sowing. So here's a real world example. I just without even trying, I'm seeing the matrix. I'm seeing it because I'm in this conversation so consistently, not like, oh, hooray, I'm going to do it today and then go be miserable again. No, I'm in this conversation again and again and again. And it starts to get real. Like I start to see it. I got a client who I do sales for. Great guy, great product, great concept, been in business for years. Got his Facebook accounts shut down. Anybody ever had that happen to them, right? Here he is pitching, financial training and services and helping people become, financially liberated. Well, that message is kind of suspect, right? Gets all his Facebook accounts shut down. Can't advertise, right? Has some other stuff going because, one is the most dangerous number in business. So he's got a little bit of diversity, but the main thrust of the traffic he was getting was via that one modality, right? The Facebook platform. And so it's been months where he's been rebuilding the traffic. He has a nice customer base, but rebuilding that traffic. And so we're attempting to obviously, we're, myself and my colleagues, we're in sales and we help people turn that traffic into customers. That's what we do. But there's this tiny little trickle of traffic. So he contracts, listen to this, he contracts with a third-party marketing agency. They know stuff, allegedly. And so they advise him, and he starts building up, a lead count. He's getting traffic, and it's costly. Election cycles, right? Pandemics, distractions, everything but, because other people got to invest their attention too, right? If they're going to participate, if they're going to learn something, right? They got to invest their attention. So he's investing money, and the cost per lead, oh my goodness, the cost per lead, in short, for marketers, the CPL, right? The cost per lead, like almost $200, almost $200 to get somebody to say, yeah, I'm interested. And maybe set an appointment, have a private consultation with the guy, right? $200, right? And because myself and my colleagues, one of them is on this call right now, by the way, we're really freaking good. Like, we're really good. We know how to sell. We're like really, really good. So he's profitable, a little bit profitable, not like, oh man, it's raining money, but a little bit profitable. And so he keeps taking advice from the other people, and yet he's hesitant to scale up because that CPL is through the friggin' roof. So they scale back. Oh, they scale back. Let's try this other thing. This CPL is too high. Crash and burn. Start over. Right? He lost momentum with that. And now we're building it back up. And yeah, the Facebook accounts are getting turned on again via third parties. And we got a friggin' covert operation going on over here. That's just the world we're in right now. But the point is that he stopped sowing the seeds. He stopped. He broke the law. Okay. Come to find out, because I got another client that we were doing some work with. His CPL is $550. $550 to get somebody on the phone with me. And I'm still helping him double his money. So sow the damn seeds. Right. I mean, if you've got a workable system, right? If you're throwing seeds into the ocean or something, we'll stop. I mean, that's stupid. That system doesn't work, right? That's not working with the law. But here's the fertile ground, right? And you've got proof of concept. Oh my goodness. Do it, right? A little bit uncomfortable, a little bit not optimal, right? Well, we can optimize as we go, but don't stop sowing the seeds. Law of gender, right?
Absolutely.
And also the law of rhythm. You know what else? Also the law of rhythm, right? The tide went out for this guy. Guess what that means? That means the tide has to come in. That's the law of rhythm. It has to, right? It's spring. It used to be autumn. Anyway, I'm babbling now. Thank you, brother. I'm inspired. Sorry that my aesthetics are not up to par.
John, that's absolutely great. No, a lot of great points there. And, going back just a step in the talk, before we even get to looking at the code and interpreting the code and grabbing the growth that's all around us in that matrix code that we're learning how to interpret, success is a dialogue with ourselves. We've got to give ourselves permission, first of all, to dive in and sit by that river and fish. And I'd love Evelyn Smith to come out if she feels like it, only if she feels like, having spoken so powerfully yesterday and before the call earlier when I talked to her, about the fact that if you haven't been used to this kind of personal endeavor, entrepreneurial endeavor, whatever it is you've taken on, you've actually got to change your thinking before you can even start the process of growth properly. Because maybe you've been conditioned in another realm where you weren't allowed to think like this, or you weren't expected to think like this. So you've got to give yourself permission. Success is a dialogue. That inner dialogue has to happen before, as John says, you've got to start scattering those seeds and not stop. So believe me, if we get the mindset right to start with, we go out there, we're going to see opportunities for growth all around us. And then we've got to start asking ourselves questions like, well, what am I going to do about this? And solutions will come. Ideas will come, but you have to ask yourself the questions, put yourself by the river and watch what's going on. So I'm not sure if Evelyn feels like talking, but she'd be very welcome to. We don't have any hands up. Anyone got any thoughts on any of these topics? I'd love to hear you. I mean, how to be definite, for example. Stefan, lovely to see you on the call. Oh, no, hang on. Yeah, Stefan's got his hand up first, I think. Thank you, Stefan.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me okay with these on or no?
Perfect, Stefan.
Cool. What was interesting for me listening to you talk about it is I have a lot of resistance coming up for whatever reason. And that's something that I struggle with a lot. So it's like, it's something that, you know, you're right. If you don't put yourself out there, you don't get success. But when I start thinking about what I need to do to get that, I feel like a resistance of, I don't know if it's fear or what, but just like, no, don't get too close to that. So that's where I struggle with it.
You know, Stefan, it's something that happens to us all, depending on the stage we've started on this journey. We all went through this. Some of us have been on the journey for a while. Some of us are brand new to it. This is not unusual. You're with everybody in this, and I think there are a large number of members in this group who would pile in right now and confirm that. So we all go through this uncertainty and doubt. But this is what I mean by a dialogue with ourselves. We've got to have that dialogue first and give ourselves permission to try things. Otherwise, we can't get to the growth stage. We just can't get there because we're going to falter and not commit. And then this definiteness that I'm talking about, being convincing, and John saying, carry on sowing the seeds, only happens once you've got the motive force in your brain to push you every day to try to do something.
Yep.
So, you know, reach out to people, Stefan, because, you know, I think just stick your toe in the water. Start with something really small and really easy. Get some advice off a few people in the group, something you can just try and experiment with where you don't have a lot of money at stake, just to get the feel. It's like taking control of, you go down to the showroom now and you buy a JCB bulldozer earth mover. You won't know how to drive it. You've got to learn how to manipulate the controls, raise the bucket. There are a few things to learn. You've got to feel good. Hey, I know how to use this thing now. This is like a machine we're driving. Little businesses, personal development programs, we're driving machines. We need to know how to pull the levers. So get hands-on. There's no substitute for getting hands-on. The more you get hands-on, which is what I was saying, the more something happens, the more you want to try the next thing, and then 2 more things will happen, and so on and so on. So I can't stress enough that we can listen to endless books, we can join in training courses, etc., as a lot of us have done, but you've got to get your hands dirty and start small and have a go. You're going to go through some very bad days. I can guarantee you that too. But that's why the group's here. This is the power of Mastermind, to get carried along and helped by the group when you're not feeling great about it, or you get confused or don't know what to do. This is why these groups work and why Mastermind is key to books like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's hard doing it on your own. We are so fortunate to be in a group doing this. And I think a load more people will pile in and confirm that as well, I hope. But I see a few people nodding already. So Stefan, you know, I hope that's helpful. I know you can do this. There is absolutely no reason why you can't do it any more than anybody else can do it. You know, there's nothing special about anyone else that's done things. Most of the people that do things are just ordinary people with no experience, but they decided to start and they decided to try, and they did it in a very definite way once they'd made that decision. And that gave them the motive force to blast through the obstacles, because we have a lot of obstacles to face. So go for it, Stefan. Really, I know you can do this. I mean, you know, let's talk. I know you can do this. Start jotting down your ideas for what you want to start with. Loads of people in this group or connected to this group that will gladly give you some pointers. I really mean that. So good luck. And we're looking forward to hearing your first plan of your first action.
Thank you very much.
Great, Stefan. I'm going to, Ali had her hand up as well. Ali, great to see you and hear you.
Hi. Great talk, Adrian. Thank you so much. I really recognized what Evelyn was saying yesterday about the complete rethink, you know, having to completely readjust one's thought processes. And the amount that I've learned about myself is just incredible over the last year, just down to the subconscious thoughts that are going on, the just this chatter of whatever, negative chatter about my ability and all of those kind of things. That's just been such a revelation. And I think the staying power, I think I've been sowing seeds, and it's just recognizing the staying power as well, and the faith that what you're going to sow is going to reap when it's all still earth on top of it. that that it is going to bear fruit. And I think it's difficult. I'm a little bit, where I've got lots of ideas and lots of thoughts, and I feel like I'm sowing the seeds, but my attention may be drifting from this to that to the other, which I mentioned a few days ago. So it's whether you stay on one field until that grows, and then you go on to another field until that grows, or whether you should be scattering everywhere. I'm kind of still in a little bit of flux over that one, but absolutely keeping the faith and keeping the knowledge that it will, keeping the action, purposeful action, is just going to make things work. I love that.
Love that, Ali. And you're summarizing the problems a lot of us have, particularly on how many ideas to pursue. And John will talk about this as well, the fox chasing too many chickens, as John puts it. I would say, and I did say in the talk, stabilize and consolidate on an idea before you move on too far away from it, because otherwise it risks not flying and suffering neglect and just crumbling when it was a good idea. So you've got to see things through enough to get them to the next stage. That doesn't mean you can't do some R&D and preparation in the background in your next idea, but you have to prioritize and commit to getting something to work properly before you can just let it fly with less focus on it. There's always a dangerous point in any growth curve. So if we're all looking for growth, make sure everything's working properly before we move on. And I know I always say, it's very hard and probably pretty much impossible. We haven't ever seen a gold medalist at the Olympics in every single discipline. That ain't going to happen. You might get a very gifted athlete in the pentathlon, but to be the champion in that particular discipline requires massive focus and total commitment for years. And it is rather like that. So you can have things that are bunched around an area, a discipline, and a body of knowledge with tweaks and bells and whistles, but you've got to be in some kind of stream to see it through. And this whole foxes and chickens debate is another key thing. And John keeps telling us about that. If you go after too many things at once, the danger is none of them will work. So thanks for that, Ali. That certainly made me think about that again. It's a constant problem I'm facing as well, I can tell you. It's what holds me back. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. And Evelyn Melendez has got a hand up. Evelyn, how are you?
Good. How is everyone doing today? Adrian, I missed part of your chat because my computer decided to do an update and restarted itself. So I hope I'm going to be on track. But more than anything than reiterating what you're saying, I want to talk to Stefan. I was there when I was younger. Now I've been there, done that. I have fallen, tripped, broken. You can call it whatever you want. It's life, it's living. But I've noticed that there is a couple things. One of them goes to what John Lavenia just said, is called indecision. But it's also called indecision because you don't have faith. You need to start with having faith in yourself. We all have it in you that you can do this. But you got to stop with the self-sabotage. You got to have that conversation with yourself. Whether I've had this testimonial before with the group that I had a conversation with myself in the mirror. It's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and have that serious conversation about why we're doing these things, and have faith in what you're capable of doing, which I know is a lot. But for whatever reason, you keep on sabotaging your success, and you shouldn't allow that anymore. Just keep on pushing forward. You can do this. Whatever it is that you decide to do, you can succeed at. You, like every single one of us in this call and every single one of us in this world, are capable of succeeding. Just decide on what. Now, I've seen your talent with those pictures. Those are phenomenal. If you guys don't have Stefan, I'm going to have everybody flood your Facebook and follow you. Your photography is outstanding. You need to find somebody to help you get this promoted and get your art out there, because it becomes selfish when we keep it to ourselves, and we need to share it with the world. And I think you love doing that. But there could be other things there that are opportunities for yourself, you know, and you're going to find that the more you think about the stuff you like, you're going to attract those things into your life and they're going to come to you. That's what is coming for me. The other thing is, you guys, there's so many things that we could be doing. Some of us are able to multitask. I know John says, you know, he doesn't like that. He likes the one thing only and focus on that. And I am going to have to agree. I'm a huge multitasker, but I have decided to focus only on, you know, the Amazon business as a whole. That's what captures most of my focus, my activity. And I've noticed that the more time and the more intent I put into this, the more effort, the more sourcing products, the more I'm sending in, that's reflecting a week or two in my sales, increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing. So I've been testing it for the last 7 months. And that is just my personal experience. Imagine where we're going to be a year or 2 years or 5 from now. Now, Stefan, I'm going to talk to you again. You're so young. Man, what would I give to be your age again and have that opportunity again? You know, and I'm not regretting the age I am, because God has given me the opportunity to be alive today, to continue to pursue my dreams. But I think that you need to take action. Whatever it is, choose one thing at the very least and keep pushing forward, because I believe in you. I know you can do this.
Great, Evelyn. Here, absolutely. And Stefan, I talked about the river, fishing in the river. There's a great big river out there with a load of fishermen standing by it. And the great thing is, you don't need a license. It's free fishing. The only person that's going to stop you fishing in that river is you, because you convince yourself that all the rest of the fishermen standing there are better than you. They're going to catch more fish than you, and maybe you'll catch the wrong fish. What the heck? Cast the hook in and actually try it. You're going to be amazed. You may not be the best fisherman in the competition on day one, but by gosh, you're going to be great after a few months. So personal growth comes after the decision that you're going to walk to that river. So do it. Do it. Great, Evelyn. That's powerful words, Evelyn. Great encouragement. Thank you very much for sharing all that. Bill has his hand up. Looking forward to hearing from Bill as well. Always a great speaker. Hi, Bill.
Adrian, good subject. Very good topic. Okay, I could be my old style self of being sarcastic, and today it's clearly got to be the Stefan show. So, Stefan, you're singing off the same hymn sheet as myself for a long time. Every now and again, and apologies to your mum, but every now and again we need to kick up the ass. And it's ourselves have to give us the kick up the ass. It's not our mums or our fathers or our brothers or our managers or anything else. It's ourselves. We have to kick up the ass. And it is a case, it's been clearly spoke about on here before. It's being consistent and being consistent with yourself. Evelyn went on there about your photography. And that's exactly what I was going to say to you, Stefan. You know, you say you don't know what to do. But you know the ins and outs of a camera. You know how it operates. You know how it functions. You know what makes a good picture. So there's a start. There's a baseline. And as Evelyn says, it doesn't matter whether you start there. You don't know what that opens up. And you won't know until you try. And it is, as Adrian has said here today, it is sowing seeds, throwing the, well, I was going to say throwing the hook in, but you need to get a worm on the end of the hook to tantalize the fish in. You got to draw them in. And for me, for you, I mean, I love taking photographs, and I am selfish. I keep them all to myself. So I probably at some stage will do something, but that's down the line. And it is a clear case, as Adrian says, of concentrating on one aspect at a time. I find that to my cost financially as well, that if you keep spreading things out, then you lose money because you're losing focus. And whilst I'm not in a race with myself to do all of the business stuff, it's getting there, and that's the main thing. It isn't a race, because the only person you're racing against is yourself. You're not racing against anybody else, and you've got to retrain your brain to stop beating yourself up about things. I've spoke this before. and perhaps you know, Stefan, yourself, when that little horrible person speaks to you in there, just imagine that it's somebody sitting beside you speaking to like that, and you wouldn't sit beside them on the bus. If they were chatting to you like that, you'd get up and walk away and say, see you, brother. You can keep your own negativity. And that's what it's about. A little thing that happened for me last year was planting seeds, real seeds, with my granddaughter. And I planted those tomato seeds in this little box. And every time she came up, she says, is there anything there? And there wasn't, not a mute, not a thing. But then all of a sudden, after a number of weeks, overnight, they all came up at once. And that amazed her. And it made me think, that's what this is all about. It's just having the patience and doing the work, keeping the thing warm, watered, getting it ready, and then it will provide that fruition. Everything will come together for you. I mean, I've started all this game probably the worst time of my life, with having PTSD and major psychiatric problems, but they're all getting sorted now because I've taken action on that. And if I can take action on crap like that, then I can take action on starting up a business. And it is just that one step at a time. Brilliant topic today, Adrian. Thank you. As ever, it's always a pleasure to hear you speaking. Thank you very much.
Bill, it's always great to hear you speaking. You should be doing it. I'm going to work on you, because you're so mesmerizing when you speak. It's so great listening to you. And echoing Ali's thoughts there about growth and staying power while the earth is still on top of the seeds you've planted, when you can't see anything for a while. You've got to have staying power, conviction, and faith, as a few of you have mentioned, as Evelyn mentioned again just now. Faith that it's worth doing it. Start with that decision to have a go, and then have the faith to see it through. And then if it doesn't work, you haven't lost everything. You try another thing. You try another angle. You say, what went wrong with that crop? I'll plant another one. Plant it a different way. Plant it in different kind of soil. There's always another way, Stefan and everybody else. So we're all experimenting, but we're trying to experiment in a controlled way, taking some of the risk out so we don't lose everything and lose our shirts. The great thing is now it's easier to do that than it ever was, with focus groups, marketing groups, testing. You can do now is much easier than it was. And there are a lot of people that can advise you how to do that, like John and Shannon, particularly how to get focus groups, marketing reports to assess what the market is. So have a go. It's the faith. Have a go, have the faith, and see what happens, and change it if you need to. Anyway, great. Thank you, Bill. Nicola has her hand up. Hi, Nicola.
Hello. Hello. I feel like we're all aiming this at Stefan today, but actually, probably what I'm going to say is pretty much what Evelyn and Bill have just said. And what's nice to hear, and I think we should probably all take something from, is it's not just Stefan with those thoughts and doubts. I might be speaking out of turn here, but I'm sure it's all of us at some point. And that's what's great about this group. I think we're in a similar place, and there's kind of such honesty here about the thoughts that go through our mind, and you don't often get that in all kind of networks or groups we're part of. So it's nice to know that we're all going through, or we have experienced this at some point. And I think for me, new into the entrepreneur world last year, it has been a complete roller coaster. And I think it might always be that way. And I think we're going to have to learn to accept that there are going to be extreme highs and extreme lows. And I think what I've realized is you can read all of the books in the world and take on all of the knowledge, but until you actually throw yourself in and experience it for yourself, you really don't quite understand what it is that you're dealing with. And I think your point is absolutely perfect, that it's all a mind game. Whether you win or you lose, it's all a mind game. It's not necessarily what you do, it's how you approach what you do. And that's what I always used to think I was fairly conscious of my thoughts and could control them fairly well. But last year was such a massive learning curve for me. And I realize now how much of a mind game running your own business is. And it was probably only before Christmas, I think there was a kind of step change, I think, in it really started to sink in how much you have to be on your own side. So I've started, and I know we talk a lot, and I think you mentioned earlier, Bill, about, you know, would you talk to a friend in the way you talk to yourself? And I've started to kind of look at it as becoming your own coach. So it's like either your best friend or your own coach. But for me, coach seems to resonate a bit more, because it's like you actually then, you're there to not just put your arm around yourself, but to actually, you know, to whip yourself into shape when you need it as well. So it kind of comes from both perspectives. Yes, be a loving friend, but hold yourself accountable at the same time. So be your own coach. And it's really, it gives a lot of self-confidence as well, because you will set yourself higher standards. And then when you achieve them, you do feel good about yourself. And it's probably helped me finally get the confidence I needed to launch my own services. That was a big step last year. I just didn't feel ready to take, because it's putting me out there, not just a product. But as soon as I found that inner belief, it literally took us about 3 weeks. The momentum just carries you through then. So what I procrastinated on over like 6 months of last year, I pretty much done in like 3 weeks. And that has literally all started with a thought and a belief and like a passion as well. Like you're kind of on the right track and you're doing the right thing. So I guess I'm just repeating what everyone else has said, is that building yourself up rather than beating yourself down is where you win or lose, in my mind. And it's not something you can just do once as well. You've got to find what works for you and continue to do that every single day, which is why these kind of discussions are great, because it's just a perfect reminder that we all need every day.
So true, Nicholas, so true. And, you know, it is all about taking that shot. We've talked about shooting a lot. We've talked about basketball a lot. If you decide not to take the shot, you're definitely not going to hit the target or the basket. Definitely not. The more shots you take, the better you'll get. And some of those are going to start landing on the target or in the basket. So have a go. It's that have a go, have a try. Just do it. And becoming your own coach. I love that. Love that, Nicola. That's a great thought, great idea. But yes, it is a roller coaster. But, you know, the roller coaster can actually be quite fun, providing you're not taking ridiculous risks without any planning. It can be quite fun. There will be difficult days, but you learn to ride them out, because you know the excitement on the other side is there is nothing like making a sale. There is nothing like selling a project, winning a competitive bid, delivering something to a customer. There's nothing like it. All that planning, you think back to how you first thought of the idea, the color of the box, the color of the brochure, whatever it was, it's a great process. It's so exciting when you actually pull it off. There's nothing like it, in my view. Anyway, great. Thank you, Nicola. Thank you for that. Evelyn Smith has agreed to speak, which I'm very happy about. She spoke so powerfully yesterday about her experience of taking on new thinking. I'm so glad you're speaking, Evelyn.
Thank you, Adrian. Fantastic talk, as always. This is really for Stefan and for Ali. Blinders, my good friend, and my the nice, beautiful lady that contributes so much to this group and shares my name, Evelyn Melendez. She speaks about the blinders, you know, like the old days, those horses that were pulling carriages and whatnot and carts. If you don't put the blinders, they get distracted, right? So they have these blinders on the outside of their eyes to keep their focus straight ahead. And the importance for that, for me, has been that when I first got into the Amazon journey, following the Blue Sky plan, there was so much information coming at me. And I was surrounded by these incredibly dynamic people who were taking it all in at a much faster rate than I could, and assimilating this information and I was trying to keep up with them. And I was trying to keep up with understanding everything that they were talking about. And I was taking notes, and I was trying to absorb all this information, but I wasn't where they were yet. And I had to learn that I need to get the blinders on and just focus on the next step, whatever I'm working on right now. If it's how to do a shipping plan, okay, I'm just focusing on that. How to write the listing, how to do the keywords, I'm just focusing on that at the exclusion of everything else and just keeping one foot in front of the other. So that I've had to learn, and it's taken me a long time, but I'm finally learning it and internalizing that, and it's really making a big difference. The other thing quickly is I wanted to just refer again to that book that I'm reading, Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. It's so rich, and talking about working on your mindset at the granular level. I said to Adrian before the call, if it hadn't been for this group, and it hadn't been for that importance being driven home with me, thank you very much, John Lavenia, driven home to me that we have to attend to the mindset. Mindset is everything. I have to work on it on a really, really basic level, a granular level. When I wake up, and the first thought in my head, what is it? Is it negative or positive? It better be positive, or else I have to practice just ruthless vigilance, really be very vigilant at the gates of my mind. And that's not my thought, that's somebody else's, but really be just brutal in shutting out other voices of naysayers, voices of doubt from my past, things that come in. And it's about changing my thought habit. It's about rejecting that thought I don't want and changing the thought habit right now, replacing it with something that I do want, which is I'm going to contact that supplier in Mexico and I'm going to get things rolling today, or pay him today, or whatever. And just do one grain at a time. And that will build into patterns of action. And then, like Napoleon Hill talks about in this book, Outwitting the Devil, he talks about that those patterns of action turn into hypnotic rhythm, which I would, in my California vernacular, I would call that getting into the groove. You get into the rhythm, and then it becomes part of your natural way of doing things. But you could also turn that against yourself too. Getting into a hypnotic rhythm that's negative is hard to break out of. So it's about being very, very vigilant in my thoughts, building that positive pattern of actions and thoughts, and also keeping the blinders on. I'm just going to finish with this quick story, and I apologize to our friends in the UK and elsewhere that you may not have a familiarity with American football, but I had a student years ago. His name was Julian Edelman. Julian was about 4'8". He was a real shrimp for his age. He was 14 years old. He was really short. And but he was a football player. He was a quarterback, which is the main decision maker on the field. And he was the #1 quarterback in the state of California of 35 million people at that time for his age group when he was, let's say, about 12, 13 years old. The #1 ranked quarterback. And he came into high school and he was like, for 18 games, every single year, it was 18-0. This kid was a phenomenon. And I asked him one day, just very casually, I said, hey, what are you going to do when you grow up? And then I turned away because I didn't want to be the adult staring him in the face, like pressure. So I just, I said, what are you going to do when you get bigger? Like when you grow up, I didn't get bigger, and I turned away, and Julian came around. He actually walked around me, faced me, looked up, commanding my attention. And he said, I'm going to play for the NFL. Like, no doubt. He said it as a statement of fact. And he had so much conviction in his voice. I stood back. I was like, wow, this individual is really something. Well, he didn't grow until the end of high school. It took him 4 more years to grow. And Julian always had people telling him, look, kid, you better learn something different, like heating and cooling or something, because you're just not tall enough to make it in the professional league. But he didn't listen to him. He had those blinders on. And his motto became, oh yeah, you think I won't be able to make it? Just watch me. And that's his motto. Bet against me. Go ahead. Well, Julian, I'm sorry for going on about this story, but Julian Edelman is today one of the top 3 wide receivers for his position. He's one of the top 3 in the whole professional league. And yes, he did have to change. This is really key for me when I think about him. He did have to change his position. He changed from quarterback to wide receiver because he isn't that tall. He never did grow that tall. And he's in these league with these behemoth giant guys that are well over probably well over 6 inches taller than he is. He's still not that tall. And so he can't see over the people's heads very well, well enough to throw the ball and make a calculated throw. Anyway, so he changed his position to wide receiver. And Julian is the type of person, getting back to the granular, working on the granular improvements. He's the type of person that works so hard on whatever is in front of him. And that's how he's gotten to where he is. He works so hard on one step after the other, after the other. So I draw on that. Julian is my inspiration. When I see what he was able to do, and I look at what I'm trying to do, I say, listen, if that kid can do what he's done, and I watch him on TV and he's just amazing to watch. And I see the heights that he's reached through hard work, through commitment, through keeping those blinders on, through not listening to the naysayers, through believing in himself. And he's got raw talent too, but he had to have all those other things. And if he can do that, I can certainly do this. So I just wanted to add that. And Allie, don't give up. You got to keep your focus. You got to not get distracted. Just focus on what's in front of you right now. You don't have to watch all the videos. You don't have to catch all the talks. They're there. They're recorded. When you need them, they'll be there. Right now, just focus on what's in front of you. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant, Evelyn, and such an inspirational way to end off this session. Really, we're coming up to the top of the hour. We've gone past the top of the hour. Teresa's going to speak, and those were great thoughts and a brilliant example. Ruthless vigilance at the gates of your mind is something we've talked about before, and that is so important. Don't let the negative thoughts in to start with, and you're on a head start. So I'm sure we'll come back to some of these ideas, but thanks a million for that, Evelyn. We're going to hear from Therese, who's got a hand up, and she's going to close the session off for us. Hi, Therese.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here. Nice to see everyone. It's been a little while since I've spoke up, but I've certainly been here. Great talk, Adrian, as always. And certainly everyone is always an inspiration. Evelyn, there's so much power in your voice right now. It feels, it's so attractive, and it's really interesting how Adrian was talking about that. When we push out, or when we're exuding positivity, we cause things to happen. People are attracted to us, good things are attracted to us. And I could really feel that from you. So kudos and bravo, and thank you for sharing. And Evelyn M., you're always so inspiring with your journey. And Nicola, great to hear from you. Bill, everyone. I think what is really standing out for me is, sometimes you have to take a step back. I tend to take on too many things. I can get them all done, but I get, I jump in the middle of the way that my mind works. Like, I'll jump into the middle of a project and I'll work it from all different directions. And then if I'm bringing on too many things at once, I have, a whole lot of projects that I'm working in a lot of different directions. And I think there's just, for me, more opportunity to get frustrated, do things wrong, and stop. So I think there's there's a great deal of importance in knowing yourself and being okay with how you process things. And it's your pace. This isn't a race. At least in my opinion, it's not a race. And so I definitely needed to take some steps back, and I needed to clear my plate, and I need to focus in a little more, with a little more attention to one project first. So I guess that's just what was standing out for me. As far as, I think, indecision, for me, I don't know that it's that I don't have faith in myself. I think that I understand that, and I certainly have been there for sure. And in this year, that is definitely, you've all been a part of, like, shifting me off of that channel, and I'm really grateful. I think for me now, it's or for all of us perhaps, we have a budget, and so working within that budget can sometimes put things, you have to schedule them out, right? So you can't just say yes to everything, and So perhaps change how you're looking at it. Is it really indecision? Is it really just, I know what I'm going to do, but it can't happen until this quarter or next quarter, or this is my long-term plan for my business. So I guess my inner voice lately has just been like, you know what, you are where you are. You're doing fine. Don't let, don't take on other people's criticism and judgment. And it's all going in the right direction. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Great
to
thoughts,
hear.
Therese.
Great to see
Great
everyone.
thoughts. I love it. I mean, as you and Bill both said, it's not a competition. You know, we are going our own journey. There's nothing wrong with going on a journey our way. It'll take us where we've planned to be. And that's our own life. It's our choice. We're not competing with everybody else. We're just trying to do what we do well and choose something that makes us happy, makes us aligned and fulfilled, and then do it well. And there's nothing better than that. So yeah, absolutely, Therese. Decision and indecision, key things we've talked about today. So I'm going to wrap the session up. We've gone well over the top of the hour, for which I apologize, but I thought it was so valuable that we heard from all the extra contributions today. And hopefully, Stefan, you got something out of that as well. But, you know, reach out to people if you want to outside the calls. Everyone's always happy to talk. So thank you really for being here. And, you know, thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. And housekeeping for tonight. Ivier speaking at 5 p.m. Eastern time, which is 9 p.m. at the moment, UK. Corporate Curios, great storytelling session about corporate life and how to deal with difficult situations. Wayne is sharing his metaphors for success thoughts, 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight, which I think at the moment is 1 a.m. in the UK. Great storytelling session again, drawing lessons for life from his metaphors. So thank you again. And as the label on my tea bag exhorted me this morning to do, go and be a rainbow in somebody's cloud today. And I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care, and we'll hope to see you later. Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye.